right now is actually from the Rachel Ray book. And the reason why I picked this is because it's a really easy recipe. So I want you to take this and maybe try it one time. I'm going to have some samples come out very shortly. You don't have to use the lobster or the salmon or the truffle. You could just make the soup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the recipes up here for you to try. To take. And then I'm going to demo everything, and then you'll see if you like it. Maybe by 3:30, when you've had a few more wines, you might come and pick one up. It may stay in the back of your car for a while, but we'll see what happens. All right, good. Now I've got to learn how to use this. So this is what we're going to do. Like I say, I have half an hour of your company, and as you guys start trying this chilled pea and asparagus soup, I'm going to start with the basics of how we cook. My mic keeps falling out. You know, I had this tested by Madonna, and it worked for her. Is that working? That's better. I look like Spock now of Star Trek. Perfect. So I'm going to pass this soup out to everybody. And while you guys are trying this soup with that little spoon, I'm going to start with the very, very basics of cooking. We're on. All right, you all with me? Yes? Okay. Here's the thing. When I do these classes, I ask questions. I have a 7-year-old, so get used to it. You're gonna be asked questions, and I need an answer. And the first question is, how do we make a basic soup? What are the first main ingredients in a soup? Stock, vegetables. Okay, onions, leeks, carrots, celery. They're the main ingredients you start with when you make a soup. Whether it be a clam chowder, a minestrone, or a pea and asparagus. You need, bear with me here, it's like a video game. You need to get the basics together. Now, because we're making a pea and asparagus soup, out of the onions and the leeks and the carrots and the celery, what vegetable what would I not use? Anybody have any ideas? What would I not use? You know there's a prize for this. No, you wouldn't use carrots. Because when I put this vegetable through this, what would a carrot do to a green soup? Exactly. So we have to compensate for that one a little bit. And this is how I'm going to show you how we do that. We're going to use basically green or mirepoix or green vegetables. So while you guys are trying the soup, we're going to start with some onions. We have leeks and celery. And then there's two things we can do right now. We can use raw garlic, which is in your recipe cards, or you can use a garlic paste. Does anybody buy garlic paste from Trader Joe's or anywhere? Yes? No? You do? Shame on you. Let me show you how to make a good one. You can take basically the garlic cloves, and I'm not going to demo this because I'm going to demo the soup, but you can take basic raw garlic, and you can buy this already peeled. I mean, we do this in the industry. It's not a hidden fact that you can't peel 50 pounds of garlic every day. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing anything else. So you buy this, and you take the top and the tail off. The top and the tail off the garlic, because it's a root vegetable. And that way then you can either, I'm going to throw this in here now, I'll throw some in here. But you can, and I don't want to confuse you here. You know, I'm going to call this lady Madonna. She did, do me a favor here. So let me backtrack here a little bit. I'm putting some raw garlic in here just to get the soup going. But for the roasted garlic, what I am going to do is buy this in the store. I'm going to take a pan like this or a pot with a handle, and I'm going to put my roasted garlic into a separate pan. So you're with me here right now. I'm making this right now. Everybody got me, right? Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure. So in my separate pan here, I would put the raw garlic, and then I would take olive oil and just cover the garlic completely in the pan. So it's in the saucepan. I would put my temperature on the stove or the range to either 2 or 3, depends if it's electric or gas. It depends how your stoves work. If they work really hot, drop it to a 2. If they're really old and not that you have really bad appliances, but if it's not working so fastly, then move it to a 3. So basically keep it in that low range. What you don't want to do is burn the garlic. You don't want to make it too brown. You just want to cook it so it kind of gets to a softness. Once that's cooked, you're going to strain the garlic into 2 different bowls. I won't use that, it's confusing. Into 2 different bowls, and then you would basically take the cooked garlic and puree it in a food processor, and that will bring you this. So everybody's clear on that side, right? How we make roasted garlic or garlic puree. And the reason why I make this is it's really, really simple. This, by roasting your garlic, and it reduces the amount of, I don't know what the real word, culinary word is for this. It's not as powerful. It's not as potent. It takes away the strength. And it also takes away the impurities. And what I mean by impurities, I don't mean that there's anything bad in garlic, but it's a root vegetable. So it really does take some nutrients out there. And this clears it all out, basically. So you end up with this really nice garlic paste after you spend probably 10 minutes in a pot, number 2, number 3, cook it till it's soft, strain it, food processor, and you have this. And that's it. 5 days in the refrigerator. 5 days in the refrigerator with an airtight container. That's how long it's going to last. And this is what I like to use on soups and potatoes and dressings, because it's such a really alternative way of using roasted raw garlic compared to roast. Chopping and crunching garlic is a real pain, especially if you're cooking at home. Can you hear me like that, or is it just me? Can you guys hear me at the back? Okay, that's good. So we're all clear on that one, right? We're going to make it again. Are we going to go? Can I give a quiz on this, or should I move on? All right, so let's quickly. What do we do with this one? Throw it away? What, and buy it already made in a packet? No way. No way. No. I guess there's no answers. I'll do it myself again. Sounds like my new project. No. All right, so this is garlic. And also, I'm stalling time because I've got to cook these vegetables. And you don't want to look at me for the next 10 minutes just going. It's pretty boring. But I'm going to tell you again. So we take the garlic, we put it in a pan, usually with a nice big thick bottom like this, so it protects the garlic. We put it on a number 2 or 3, we cover it with oil, and we boil it, or just simmer it for about 7 minutes. Strain it, goes into a food processor. And this is a good point. This is not a food processor, this is a blender. And I'm going to explain later why there's a difference. We food process the garlic, and it comes out like this. And we can use this for anything we need. So that's a little tip on roasted garlic. Put it over my head. It's not supposed to be ears. Dude. can't. Can they hear me? The problem is they can't hear me if I don't pull this thing down.
I'll be able to change the level. There you go.
All right. Okay, can you hear me now? Can everybody hear me, or do you have to shout? A little bit more. Can you turn it up there, DJ Callum? You got it? No, that's better. Whoa, that was easy. Is that? Can I classify that as like a wardrobe malfunction on one of? Yeah, my ears are too small. All right, so let's have a recap then. So listen, let's get back to the soup we're making. We started off with a big pan like this. We added our olive oil. We have our onions, our celery. We don't add what vegetable? Carrots, because what? When we blend it, it's going to give us a bit of a different color. So we don't do that, obviously. So what I'm going to do with these vegetables right now, I'm just letting them sweat and cook out. Sweat's not a really good word. We're going to basically just extract all the flavor, but keep them from not browning, basically, is what I'm looking at. So as they're going along, I'm going to add my potato. Now, the reason why I'm using potatoes, and I'm using Yukon potatoes, because they have a nice little starch content to them. This is going to be the thickening agent to the soup. So obviously I don't want to use flour, I don't want to use a cornstarch, but I need to get this soup with some body. Because all I'm using, obviously, is asparagus and peas. So the potatoes work as a thickening agent. And remember we talked about the garlic having kind of a neutral color, keeping it white, so it doesn't affect the color. That's why we use potato. It's white. Makes sense, right? So then we're going to do that one. So while this kind of sweats itself out, and in all honesty, when you make a soup at home, I think you should put your best program on the TV on, because it takes some patience. You don't need to sit there looking at it. You put the TV on and you watch what you want to watch, and you cook it nice and slowly. And it doesn't brown then. You're not rushing the dish. That's not just a statement. I mean, it really works. So while that's cooking, let's look at what else we've got left to put in here. We have our asparagus. Okay, that's another part. And then the last thing we have is our frozen peas, which are in here. Somebody stole them before. I had to find them. Now, you would say, would a chef really use frozen peas? Well, yes and no. I would rather use fresh peas for this recipe. And in all honesty, we do. We do at the restaurants. We make that. Well, we can actually buy peas already done. But the reason why I put this recipe together and did it on the 30-minute, 35, 40-minute meal thing with the Rachel Ray is because I'm trying to show you two techniques here. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. When you guys do a dinner party at home, or when you're cooking broccoli or asparagus, the traditional way to cook that kind of vegetable is to take boiling salted water, okay? And then you blanch the vegetable, or you blanch the broccolini, and it goes straight into ice water. That keeps all the nutrients. It keeps all the color of the vegetable. Has anybody ever tried it? I use the word blanch or shock. You'll read it in magazines. So, in all honesty, this soup does exactly the same thing. Because what I'm doing here is I'm going to cook these vegetables completely out. I'm going to add my stock. And then I'm going to put my asparagus. And instead of putting the entire soup into an ice bucket, I'm going to add frozen peas. So does everybody get what I'm trying to get at? I'm shocking it at the same time, and I'm also keeping all the vibrant colors and all the flavor. And that's why it makes it such an easy soup to make and have it as a hot or cold. And the thing about it is I served you a cold chill soup because it's warm here. But if you warm this soup up, you're not going to lose that color because you did the shocking program, so to speak. Just like if you warmed up asparagus or broccolini, it's not going to go brown that quickly because you've shocked it. So that's the idea of what we're doing here right now. All right, so I managed to get through the malfunction. The wardrobe, nothing was seen, which was good. My vegetables are starting to cook. These need about a minute now for the potatoes. And another thing about when you make your soups, when it says dice, the smaller you make the dice, the quicker it's going to cook. And you are going to extract more flavor because there's more surface areas in a smaller dice over, without getting too technical, it's better to just dice it small. Let it cook quickly and just let it kind of ease itself out, get all the flavors out. We all know asparagus only takes 5, 10, 15 seconds, depending on how big it is. This is kind of a pencil asparagus. This is a smaller one you're going to find in the store. You know, the Albertsons and the Jensen's. I don't know where you shop. We can get down to Slater Brothers if you want. We can keep going down. 99-cent store. There's nothing wrong with 99-cent store. After tax, it goes over, just so you know. All right. So now, on this new stove, I've got this. I'm going to fire it up. I'm going to start adding my stock. So this is just a basic chicken broth or chicken stock. But if you want to make this vegetarian, you can absolutely just use a vegetable stock. You can either make it or you can buy them. I also go low sodium because then you can add as much salt as you want. If you noticed, I used a truffle flavored salt from a lady over there who I bought it from. Actually, I didn't buy it. You gave it for free, right? But I'm just bringing you into embarrassment. But the idea is you don't want to use you need a low sodium chicken broth or vegetable, so you have that area where you can add salt to it. So we're at the second process now. What we're going to do now is as this chicken stock gets hotter, I'm going to add this, give it 1 minute, and then we're going to shock it. Might need a little bit more actually. Let's do this. That's good. All right, let's get that going. Clean up a little bit here. I'm going to keep the roasted garlic because I'm going to show you at the end, if you want to use this one, how to use it. That's done. Salt, pepper. Clean off your board. So, now it comes time to add the asparagus. So like I told you before, this is where we do the blanching process or the shocking process. We add our asparagus, mix it in, give it about 1 or 2 minutes just to cook. So you can imagine, really, you are basically cooking asparagus in a vegetable stock, vegetable water, and that's what we're doing right now. If you do take the time to get the frozen peas, use it this way. If you want to do the real method and use fresh peas, it's awesome. It's a lot vibrant, but the chilling process is different. But I will tell you that once we get to that pouring the soup process or stage of the demo. So 2 minutes in there. If you look at you don't have to look at your recipes, but your recipes calls for about 6 cups of stock. The rule of a soup, it can be this, it could be a minestrone, it could be a clam chowder. Do never put all the vegetable stock or chicken stock or fish stock in at one time, because there isn't a nutritional value on a chicken stock on a vegetable, so you don't know how much stock you're really going to need. So my technique is, if you're making you follow the recipe, and instead of using the 6, put in 4. Because once you puree that soup, or you make that minestrone, if it's too watery through the stock, there's not a lot you can do with it. If it's a pureed soup, what are you going to do? You're going to add some flour, then you're going to lose it all. If it's a minestrone, forget it. You got no chance. And I can tell you a quick story. When I was an apprentice many years ago, many years actually, but I had to make a minestrone for an Italian dinner at this hotel in London I worked at, and it was my first claim to fame. The chef gave me a chance to make this. And I made it for 400 people, and I loved it. I do believe I make a decent minestrone. And once I'd made it, I felt so confident. I walked away from it after it being, because I made it the day before, so all the flavors get together the next day. I cooked the pasta, used the water for the stock. I did everything perfectly. And the next day I walked away thinking I was so confident, too cocky. And as I heated the soup up, everything happens. Vegetables sink to the bottom because it gets warm. And the stock came to the top. Before I know it, I'm like, what's that smell? I burnt it. I did. And I was working at the Savoy in London, and man, did I get my... and the chef was German. He wasn't even Italian. He was German. Boy, I got in some big trouble on that one. So I'm very paranoid. So I learned to try and make the best minestrone after that. All right, let's get to the peas. So yes, this is a Rachel Ray classic, but she liked it. Frozen peas, shocking process. So what I'll do now is basically put the peas in it, and obviously I'm not measuring. And this is how I cool all the vegetables down for this soup. Pretty nifty in here, isn't it? Look, we got all this. Doesn't work, but it looks good. It's kind of like my kitchen at home. Neglected. So what I'm going to do now is let this cool. And this actually, I need more stock, which is fine because it's cold stock. So I'm just going to add a little bit more and bring this down to get this process done. All right. So this part's on a really low to next to nothing heat because I don't really want to cook it. I don't want to cook it anymore. I just want to let it sit there. Now here's the fun part. A beautiful soup bowl. Let's do this one. All right. Spoon. Let's see where we're at with this now. So what I'm looking at with these peas is, as you know, frozen peas are already cooked. So I don't want to be semi-frozen. I just want them to be pretty much just warmed up, because that's the vegetable what's helped me cool this down. So now I can go to the next step, which is basically taking the pea, taking the broth, and start to, let's call this the Margarita Blender for two reasons. A lot of home cooks who are really, really good cooks, there's so many different blenders out there. There's an immersion blender. You know those little immersion blenders you use for, if you want the honest truth, they're really good for emulsifying sauces. They're really not good for trying to puree anything up. Everything gets stuck in that little blade. Then a lot of people say to me, well, why would you not use a food processor, the one we use for our roasted garlic? You don't use that because there's too much surface area. You need a small surface area so the revolutions of the blade can really puree the soup. So honestly, let's call it your Margarita Blender. That's the one you need to use. That's the awesome one that's going to get you the fine puree. And this soup calls for you that you can puree it in here, and then you can strain it. But you really don't have to. If you want that, the outside shell of the peas, the really good sweet stuff, then don't strain it. Just pour it into your bowl or into the refrigerator, use it next day. The only difference in straining this soup and not straining it is that you're going to get a real nice speckled effect from the shell if you don't strain it. If you strain it, you're going to get a refined puree like we had in ours. But it's really, really simple. And I literally start with, how many cups of stock did I put in here? 4. And what's the recipe called for? 6. So exactly, I've got 2 cups in credit, and that's going to help me puree this down. So I'm just going to use a little bit now, and again, this is cold stock. And the other thing is, you really don't want it to splash everywhere, so Perfect. Can we see that? Let me see if I can lift the top off. Can we get a shot in the middle? Okay. All right, let's leave that off for 1 second. Because I'm going to jump back and forth. I hope I don't confuse you. I confuse myself every day. And what I mean by confusing you, remember we talked about using, making the roasted garlic? And in the soup, I use the raw garlic. But if you decided not to do the raw garlic in the soup, then we can use our roasted garlic. And this is when I would be putting my roasted garlic in now. So now it's all pure, because it's cooked already. So now I can add this. And the only difference in them two little chef tips is this is raw and it's a lot stronger. This is weaker because we've already pureed this garlic, and so we could use more garlic. Either way, I would probably do this because I can use this for a lot of things after the fact of making soup. This is what I use for what we call emulsifying vinaigrettes. Let's take a traditional balsamic vinaigrette. What do? Balsamic vinegar, cheap, expensive, in between, raw garlic, oil, and whatever you want to add, basil. You mix it, it separates real quick. If you take the same ingredients and not use raw garlic and do it in a Margarita Blender and add this, it will emulsify. Now you've got that kind of vinaigrette, what looks like, I don't know, like a Paul Newman's on the store. It's going to emulsify and keep together. So you put it in a little squeeze bottle, it goes in your refrigerator, and you've got emulsified vinaigrette with balsamic vinegar. I mean, everybody's favorite is balsamic, number one. I think so anyway. So that's an easy way of why I use roasted garlic. All right, so I've put a little bit in here. Let's hit it again. Yeah. And then all I'm going to do is season at the end, just to check a little bit. Hit that in. Perfect. Last part of the ingredients, the two luxurious ones, whether you can spend money or whether you're watching your waistline. Cream. Cream's not bad. Everything's good in moderation. So yes, add a little bit of cream. What would happen if I put the cream in right now? I told you there's a prize. You get a lifetime membership at OTF if you don't get this right. If I put cream in here and this is hot or medium, the heat from it's going to curdle, right? We're going to get scrambled egg, cream scrambled egg. We don't want that. So always wait until this is completely chilled. So when the recipe say a touch of cream, it says when you're serving. So basically, wait till the next day. And again, the soup should be made the day before, so all the flavors come out. It's just like our tomato sauces, our pizzas we eat the next day, or pastas. Same thing. It's the same for every ingredient. So first day, then next day we serve it. So the soup the next day, or cream when we add it too. All right. You guys aren't staying here all night, so I'm going to have to present it now. I don't know, maybe you will after 2 o'clock, a few more wines, who knows? Who knows? So, like I said before, we can actually strain this, or we can just go straight into a container. Now, what I would suggest, I'm not going to do this right now, is get this into an ice bath. And what I mean by that is it's just like a bowl or some container, something like this maybe, and then a larger container where you can put ice water in. And that's going to help cool the soup down quickly, even though we've already done the frozen pre-process. That hot to cold is super. Yeah, I know, I'm going. You can't hide from me. I know. She's kicking me off already. I'm just joking. Commercial break, yeah. So that's the idea, is just to chill it as quick as possible. But somebody's watching me right now, so we're going to speed up. So this is the fluorescent color that you've already had. So this is next day dinner party. Okay, next day dinner party. What are you going to use? Cream and a little bit of lobster. Or what I did with you guys is I put some smoked belly in. And then where did I put my cream? And this is how you do. Center of the plate is the most important thing in the chef's world. The reason why that is because you can see what's on the outside. So nice and fluorescent. This will wow your friends. And if you do want to do it hot in the winter, warm it up. Because we went through this shocking process, which means that you're not going to lose the color. You're really not going. You're going to get the same color warm as well when it's chilled. And then from here, just a little bit of cream. And there you go. That's how you make a simple asparagus pea soup.